Other ways that I'm finding my candidates are working to put themselves visibly in the space is they're doing personal websites. Anybody have a personal website? All right. It is, I'll give you an example. This one candidate, she was a product manager at Cisco. And what she had been there about 12 years, and what she wanted to do was step out and step up to becoming a strategic marketing vice president. So she literally wanted to bootstrap herself up to the next level. One of the ways she did this is that she, and I coached her, she created a personal website that literally anybody who looked at the website got a huge focused understanding of how much she knew about strategic marketing. If you think about it, marketing also has there are all kinds of marketing, especially when you get down to product marketing. You know, product marketers, quite frankly, are micro CEOs. You have to be responsible for everything: pricing, sales training, service, support, profitability, you name it. She wrote a paper describing all of those functions from the standpoint of what does a product manager really do. It was probably the best thing she did. She started out getting 10, 20, she's now up to over 200 hits on her website. She has requests for her white paper, and now she's being asked to speak. And following right behind it, people are now calling her and saying, somebody told me about your website. I went and looked at it, and I'd like to talk to you about, are you available? Make yourself smart. I will challenge you that you have the ability to go to an interview and be smarter about the company, about the issues facing the company, than the person who is interviewing you. Think about it. Who's interviewing you? Maybe it's an HR person. Maybe it's an administration person. Maybe it's a team member from the team that's going to hire you. Maybe it is the hiring manager. But each one of those persons has a particular view of their company. In fact, I will guarantee you that you will be in interviews where the person interviewing you is not sure why he's talking to you. Right? I mean, that's frightening, but my other side of my coin is that I train management teams on how to team interview, and I am stunned by the number of times that a well-paid executive will show up for an interview for a quote-unquote world-class candidate, and they sit down and say, why are you here? It's frightening. So it's not a very high bar for you to know more about the company than the person sitting there talking to you. So how do you get smart? Several ways. Get on the web. Google is your friend. Lots and lots of articles written in the press. Lots of sourcing names from the company. Lots of looking on LinkedIn. I'll give you an example. I was working with an international vice president of marketing who had a company that had posted a job or come forward with a job, but they were not saying where the job was, except overseas, because they hadn't announced it yet. So my candidate, actually, he wasn't my candidate. I was helping this professional. He did a little bit of research and found out that what was really going on, first he read a speech by the president that talked about their new thrust into Indonesia. Step by step, he finally put it together. They were about to open a business unit in Indonesia, and they were looking for a vice president to head up the marketing effort in Indonesia. He said, okay, what if I got that job? What would I do? He wrote a 2-page summary outline of if I had that job for your new division in Indonesia, here's what I would do. So during the interview, it became clear that to the interviewer that the candidate had figured it out. And so the minute that he knew that, he sort of let his guard down and said, yeah, let's talk about Indonesia. A little while later in the conversation, it got around to how do you solve problems in Indonesia, and the candidate said, well, you know, I've thought about that, and I'd like to share with you my thoughts, and he handed him the 2-page outline of the job that was supposed to be a secret. He was hired that afternoon. Think about that. You can be smarter than the person interviewing you. I'll give you another little simple way to do it. I one time got a call from a fellow on Sunday night. He said, Sandy, you've got me set up for an interview tomorrow morning at a company over in the valley. I said, yeah. He says, I'm not going. I said, well, what do you mean you're not going? He said, well, this week I drove over there to check out what the commute traffic would be like, and I went and sat in their lobby. And what I found was the cars that were in the lot at 6:45 in the morning were the same cars that were there at 9:45 at night, and everybody coming in and out was like they were being chased by a dragon. He said, I don't want to work for that company. And all he did was go over there and sit in the lobby and watch it. You can learn what their culture is, you can learn how they work, you can see lots of things you can learn. And by the way, that nuance of knowing a little bit more, even if it's general information about a company or the way they work, is immensely powerful. Because people will assume you know more than you know. So, in making yourself smart, that's half the equation. Your smartness about the company. Okay, let's flip it. My smartness about me in the company. Think about that. Think about how you would answer questions or propose questions that would lead to just getting you to be talked about as if you were being hired for that company. Put yourself in the job. And then figure out what you would say. Like this guy wrote a marketing plan. Demonstrate that you want the job. I would clearly tell you that if you get into an interview and halfway through the interview you sort of kind of decide that maybe this isn't right for you, 10 microseconds later, sorry, Star Trek, 10 seconds later, the person interviewing you will know it, that you're not interested. So if you go to an interview, you go for the whole interview. You can always say no tomorrow. But be sure that you are there to demonstrate you want that job. Think about what the person is looking at you across the table at. He's thinking, is this guy going to get me fired? Can I trust him with my product? What is the reputation of my company going to be from this person? What if I make a mistake? Those are the questions going through that guy's interview. He may be thinking about, oh yeah, what school did you go to? But I guarantee you, he's thinking more about his emotional concern about how you're going to fit into his company. So you put yourself in, the best salesmen are people who can be chameleon-like and put themselves in the place of the person they're selling to or talking to. I'll give you another little example. I once got a job because I'm a sailor. Here's how it worked. I went into the office of the president, and his office was just covered with boats, different kind of boats, competitive racing boats and things. So I kind of looked around and saw that, and I got in the interview. I waited for one of those casual moments to come up, and I said, "Are you a sailor?" And he said, "Yes." Well, the long and the short of it was, he ended up hiring me. And to this day, I swear that he hired me because he needed a crew member on his boat.